Have you heard the story of the Trojan Horse? It's basically a story of peace and safety. And then destruction comes suddenly. Well, what happened? There was a war. And then it seems the war ended. And with this final gesture, we're going to give you a gift. The war's over. Here's our final gesture of peace. We give you this gift, the Trojan Horse. So everyone in the fortified city said, peace and safety. Let's get that Trojan horse and wheel it in. And then at night, what happens? There's a bunch of soldiers inside that Trojan horse. And right over the horizon, those ships stopped and turned back around. And what happened? They all said peace and safety. And then in the middle of the night, destruction happened suddenly. Now, this is just speculation on my part. But before the great and terrible day of the Lord, the sky will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood. I think what that means is there's going to be a first strike. And then there's going to be a time where nothing else happens. And everyone says, oh, peace and safety. And about the time everybody's crawling out of the bomb shelters and crawling out of the, hiding places, that's when there's going to be a second wave. And I think that it's a trick. They're going to do the first strike. Or maybe it's a completely different scenario. Maybe that first strike is just them saying, we have nukes and we're willing to use them. Surrender to us. Meanwhile, Obama says, yeah, we surrender then. Meanwhile, the rest of the Congress and everybody says, are you kidding me? You're going to surrender like that? We're not going to surrender. No, we're not surrendering to these crazies who are just going to come here and kill us all anyway. Meanwhile, Obama's like, no, we surrender. Yep, just go ahead and take over. What? No. Now, all this negotiating going on that nobody knows about. Like, for example, let's talk about this nuclear deal with Iran. How could any sane, normal person, American, be in agreement with this? How could any congressperson? Maybe those people know something we don't know. Maybe there's top secret information. Maybe somebody said, you touch Iran. Maybe Putin is sitting on some hiding place somewhere saying, you touch Iran and we're going to back Iran. You touch them with nukes, we're gonna go ahead and open up with our nukes. Meanwhile, Israel's saying, well, if you don't attack Iran, if we don't attack it, we will. In other words, what if there's stuff going on that the public doesn't know about and they're keeping it secret and they're keeping it hidden because they know there'd be a complete chaotic outcry? In other words, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Who knows what kind of top secret documents are being exchanged? Who knows what kind of discussion is really going on? What if? Now I'm just speculating on a bunch of stuff. What if Netanyahu has said, we've got to stop this deal? America, you with me? America says no. But Congress says, well, yeah, there's people in Congress. Well, yes, we're with you. We're against this deal too. So now, well, who's with who? Who's what? Then you got Russia. What if Putin has said, if you touch Iran, we'll touch anybody back who touches Iran? Now you got, well, that's kind of confusing. Well, wait, Russia and Iran on the same side as North Korea, which has been basically threatening to destroy America too, in addition to what we hear from Iran. It's not just Iranians who are saying we want to destroy America, right? Meanwhile, Putin's behind both of these nations. How do you think Kim Jong-un got nuclear power? Russia. How do you think Iran is going to get nuclear capability? Russia. So there's an alliance there. Meanwhile, Obama, he didn't even want to take out Osama bin Laden when he had the chance. And if he had been in his second term already, he probably would have found a way to let Osama escape. Just saying. Watch that movie Zero Dark 30. It wasn't until he was under pressure of some sort of public disgrace that he finally made the go-ahead on that. Who's the Mahadi of Islam? Who's the Mahadi? Well, I'll tell you one indicator is if all the Christians are saying that's the Christian Antichrist, that's going to give the Mahadi, if all the Christians all agree this is the Antichrist of Christianity, then that's like a badge of honor to any Muslim. If there's a Muslim out there and all the Christians are pointing to that guy saying that's the Antichrist, then that Muslim can put a badge on and say, all the Christians are proclaiming I'm the Antichrist. And that's like a badge of honor. So, for example, let's just use this as a theoretical example. If all the Christians suddenly proclaimed that Obama's the Antichrist, then Obama to the Muslim world could use that as something to gain credibility for himself and maybe step up and say, yes, they say I'm their Antichrist. That means I'm your Mahadi. Just saying, we're all enemies, right? What's going on that we don't see, that the general public doesn't know anything about? Let him who has an ear to hear, let him hear what the Lord is saying. And if the Bible says that there's some sort of beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns, and the Bible says who can make war with the beast, and in other words, everybody in the world is going to say, we don't want to make war with this thing. And after you see what happens, the Bible says that he was given power to make war with the saints and overcome them. Now, for the last 400 years, Christianity has ruled the world. Do your historical research. It's been Great Britain, and after that, the United States. Great Britain spread the influence. The United Kingdom worldwide. And out of Great Britain birthed the United States of America. May have been a painful birth, but nonetheless, we speak English. Australians speak English. Where was Islam during the discovery of the New World when all of North America was colonized and now everybody speaks English, and all of South America was colonized and everybody speaks Spanish? Obviously, Islam didn't have much of a influence on the world. Otherwise, all of South America might be speaking Arabic right now. So Islam's been the big loser for so many years, and they still are the big loser. If you look at Iraq and Syria, and then all the Palestinians are all blaming Israel for their poverty and hardships. Well, as far as I'm concerned, Palestine is just an extension from on one side of Egypt and Libya, which is also in destruction. And then on the other side, it's Iraq and Syria, which is also in destruction. In other words, Islam is the abomination that causes desolation. All of Islam is just a desolate wasteland. And now that the United States has a Muslim president, guess what's next? The United States is next to become a desolate wasteland, and it will be the fault and the result of Islam in the White House.